My name is Austin Lux. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And this is 5 things that you should know about DUIs, even if you've never been charged with one. Number 1, you never have to do the roadside test. So roadside tests, they're also known as the standard field sobriety tests, are tests that a police officer will ask someone to do if they suspect them of driving under the influence. They consist of typically 3 tests. So there's the walk and turn, standing on one leg, and then an eye test is called the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. Now I've seen thousands of DUIs between my time as a prosecutor and now as a defense attorney. And I can count on my hands how many times I've seen folks pass those roadside tests. In fact, it's a common tactic that we use as defense attorneys at trial is to ask the police officer to do the roadside tests, the roadside maneuvers during trial. And inevitably, they'll screw up on 1 or 2 of them. So these are tests which average people struggle to complete successfully. They're not a good indicator of impairment. They're very subjective, and they don't correlate at all to intoxication if the substance is marijuana. Number 2, the PBT or preliminary breath test is never admissible in court. So the PBT is a handheld breath testing device, and this is one of the tools that police use to determine if they have probable cause to arrest you for a DUI. That number that comes up on this PBT can never be used against you as evidence in the criminal case. It won't save you from being arrested, but it gives you an idea of where you're at. So if you feel compelled that you need to do one of the police tests, this is a good one to start with. Number 3, you have a right to refuse the chemical test. So at the end of a DUI investigation, the law enforcement officer will tell you that since you're driving on the roads in Colorado, you've already consented to give a test of either your blood or your breath if a police officer has probable cause to believe that you're driving while intoxicated. And then they'll ask what test you're going to take. They often leave out the third option that you have, which is a right under the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution to refuse to take any test. Now, there are consequences for refusing this test. There's sanctions against your driver's license that the Department of Motor Vehicles puts in place. There are also consequences for taking the test. In fact, in Colorado, this is one of the few states where if you take the test and your blood result comes back above a 0.2, there is mandatory jail time upon conviction, even for a first offense. Number 4, your medical history is no one's business. So the police ask a number of questions during a DUI investigation about any prescription medications that you take, any diagnoses that you have, any past injuries that you have, and all of that is private and protected information. You do not have to volunteer that information to police officers. They're not doing you any favors when they're asking you those questions. They're asking those questions as part of their investigation to build evidence against you for the resulting criminal charge. If this isn't the kind of information that you would provide to your boss or discuss with your friends or even your family, why then would you have that conversation with the police officer investigating you for a crime? Number 5, you're never just talking to the police officer anymore. So since the advent and implementation of body-worn cameras in police departments across Colorado, police investigations have become easily reviewable by prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges. So we're no longer just confined to the police officer's testimony or their report anymore. We get a very good look at everything that happened in a case. When you're having a conversation with the officer, you're having a conversation with the prosecutor, the jury, and the judge. If you are polite and respectful, the judge, the jury, and the prosecutor are going to see that you are polite and respectful. If you are angry and belligerent, the judge, the jury, and the prosecutor are going to see that you're angry and belligerent. And that means a lot for your case. Not only for plea negotiations, but ultimately a jury trial if plea negotiations fall through. Here's what jurors ultimately make their decision on. Now they're going to factor in the results of any chemical tests that came into evidence. They're going to factor in your driving behavior. But ultimately, when they're making a decision as to whether or not an accused person was intoxicated at the time they were arrested by police, they're going to look and see if that person was acting like a drunk person or a sober person. Sober people are polite, responsive, and rational. Drunk people are angry and belligerent. So always remember that it's no longer just about you and the police officer. It's about you and the entire court system. So there you have it. 5 things that you should know about DUIs in Colorado, whether or not you've ever been arrested or charged with that offense. My name is Austin Lux. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I practice in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I believe in the Constitution, and I want you to know the law and your rights.